The first victim was found in an abandoned farmhouse on the outskirts of Chicago. A young woman, meticulously arranged on the wooden floor, dressed in outdated clothing. Clothes eerily similar to those last seen on a missing person from decades ago. The resemblance was uncanny. The case immediately caught the media's attention. Was this a message, a macabre tribute, or something even darker? FBI Special Agent Olivia Carter and her partner Derek Holloway were assigned to the case. Olivia had seen her share of serial killings, but something about this one felt different. The precision, the attention to detail. This wasn't just murder, this was performance art. The body belonged to Lisa McAdams, a college student who had vanished only 3 days earlier. But Lisa's case bore disturbing similarities to another, Mary Sullivan, who disappeared in 1983. Not only did Lisa resemble Mary in appearance, but the crime scene was an almost exact replica of where Mary had last been seen. Olivia pulled up old case files, her stomach twisting as she realized something horrifying. Lisa wasn't the first. There had been another woman last year and another 2 years before that. The same eerie pattern, a perfect copy of a long-forgotten case. The collector had been at work for years, a mind that archives. Murder forensics confirmed that Lisa had been kept alive for at least 48 hours before her death. The killer had taken his time, ensured every detail was precise. They weren't just reenacting disappearances, they were collecting them. Olivia and Derek theorized that their unknown subject, was obsessed with historical cases, replicating them as a form of twisted preservation. But why? What drove him to recreate tragedies that the world had already tried to forget? They dug deeper. They discovered a chilling connection between all the cases. Each victim had been selected based on their resemblance to a missing person. The killer was choosing real-life mysteries and rewriting their endings. The team cross-referenced old missing persons reports with recent disappearances. The deeper they searched, the more patterns emerged. This wasn't random. The killer had a method, and if they could crack it, they might predict his next move. The next target. The breakthrough came when a survivor came forward. A woman named Erin Delgado claimed she had been abducted 3 years earlier, kept in a windowless room, and forced to act out the life of a woman who had gone missing in 1995. She had managed to escape when her captor had stepped away for a moment, but fear had kept her from coming forward. Now, hearing about Lisa McAdams, she realized she had almost become part of the collector's twisted archive. Erin described her captor, a man in his late 40s, intelligent, meticulous, always speaking in past tense, as if he believed he was living in the time period of the original case. He made her wear vintage clothing, talk in an outdated manner, even eat food brands that no longer existed. He was rewriting history in real time. Using Erin's description, a sketch was made. A criminal profiler helped narrow down potential suspects, historians, archivists, true crime enthusiasts with a disturbing fixation. The investigation led them to a man named Richard Hensley, a former history professor who had been fired after being caught falsifying historical documents. His obsession? Restoring lost historical events, recreating the past. When they searched his home, they uncovered his private archive, a museum of the missing. Walls lined with photographs of missing persons, mannequins dressed as his past victims, stacks of journals detailing the crimes he had painstakingly reconstructed. The final reenactment, Richard was nowhere to be found, but they knew he would strike again. And soon, the FBI identified a potential target, Natalie Jensen, a young woman who bore an eerie resemblance to a girl who had gone missing in 1977. Natalie had reported a man following her the past few days, and Olivia knew they were running out of time. A stakeout was set up outside her apartment, but the collector was always 2 steps ahead. The moment they realized Natalie's phone had gone dark, they knew she was already in his hands. A frantic search led them to a remote, decaying theater, a place the missing girl from 1977 had last been seen. Inside, Natalie was tied to a chair on stage, dressed in period-appropriate clothing, a terrified look in her eyes. The collector was preparing to recreate her final moments. Richard stood in the audience, watching his production unfold. "You don't understand," he said calmly when Olivia and Derek burst in, guns drawn. "I'm not killing them. I'm finishing their stories." A tense standoff ensued. Richard had a scalpel pressed against Natalie's throat, fully immersed in his delusion. Olivia had seen killers like this before, men who believed they were above justice, who thought they were restoring order rather than destroying lives, but Richard had made a mistake. He had underestimated her ability to play along. "You're right," Olivia said, lowering her gun slightly. "The world forgets. People vanish and they never get the endings they deserve." Richard's grip loosened slightly. He nodded, as if she finally understood his purpose. "That's why you need me," Olivia continued. "You want to honor their stories, right? You want people to remember. Let her go and I'll listen. I'll make sure the world knows." For a moment, Richard hesitated. That was all Derek needed. A single, well-placed shot to the shoulder, and Richard crumpled to the ground. Natalie ran into Olivia's arms, shaking but alive. The collector's archive had ended, but the damage he had done, the lives he had taken, would never be forgotten. As Richard was led away in handcuffs, he whispered, "There will always be more. History never stops repeating itself." Olivia stared after him, unsettled. Somewhere, someone else was watching. Someone else was taking notes, because history had a way of attracting the wrong kind of people. And the collector was never just one man.